a street legal, learner approved electric motorcycle. Now that's something to look at. So they had her on an electric scooter, and what she didn't like about that was it was kind of big and cumbersome and an awkward riding position. And basically I was like, if you want, there's the Surron Ultra Bee R. I'm happy for you to, you know, borrow that long term, use that for a while to learn how to ride. And the crazy thing is, I knew that bike was LAMS approved, so learner approved, in New South Wales, because I bought that bike when I was on my L's. I saw that the 2024 R, so the road legal edition of the Surron Ultra Bee, was on the LAMS approved list, and I was like, whoa, a LAMS approved electric motorcycle, that's crazy, that's so cool. I did find out there were some other ones as well, but in that price point, for an electric bike. And like as soon as I put NVR2 on that thing, she was like, yeah man, this is cool, this is way better than the electric scooter, just way more nimble, nice and lightweight, looks cool, felt like more like a motorbike, I guess, because it is. And man, I enjoyed riding that thing so much on my L's. It's just fun. Like, yeah, bit dicey with the cops, because even though I was completely legal, had rego, insurance, all that kind of stuff, yeah, when it came to the cops, they either gave me like just gave me a fair bit of interest, and when you are getting comments like all Surrons are illegal, yeah, luckily I wasn't on the bike at the time, but that did make me kind of think, okay, you need to bear that in mind. But yeah, for me, a learner approved electric motorcycle, that was like a crossover in that Venn diagram that I was not expecting to see, but it was cool. It meant I could cruise around on that thing on my L's and have a bit of fun on the roads, and I was totally legal. And when it came to NVR2, not only was it a lightweight vehicle, nice and nimble, looked cool, was an actual motorbike, you can change the settings on it, because that's one of the cool things with electric motorbikes or electric vehicles. You know, you can do some configurations on those, like basically I just turned down the power and the throttle sensitivity and actually turned up the regen and the kind of simulated engine braking, as it were, to increase the stopping power, and it basically kind of tamed that thing down so it was nice and tame for a learner rider. So I'm not saying that it made it impossible to whiskey throttle it and kind of just, yeah, grab a whole handful of throttle and loop the thing out or what. It just would have made it a lot harder, because it is still a motorcycle and you still have to learn all the fundamentals, all the basics. It's just easier because you don't have to worry about the gears, so you're not doing the clutch, so you don't have to worry about the clutch lever, you don't have to worry about doing the foot pedal for your changing gears, like getting your foot under that or over that, changing gears, being in the right gear selection. NVR2 was keen on it because it basically gave it that option of essentially a learner approved automatic motorcycle, and I would argue the options for, or the current options for automatic motorcycles are quite limited. But yeah, for me, the fact that it was on the LAMS list, the learner approved motorcycles list, meant that the government, well in New South Wales anyway, was saying that, hey, here's a bike and a few others that, yeah, if you're learning, we're okay with you learning on one of these. And that's my point, is that I think that electric bikes have or potentially have a really strong spot when it comes to learner riders, because the elephant in the room is the range, and if you're doing slow speed maneuvers, you are not going to be chewing up that battery fast, and also you won't be doing long rides because you're a beginner. So you know, you'll be doing shorter rides and you'll be getting tired and you'll be freaking out and getting used to riding and all that kind of stuff, and then you'll gradually increase how far you're riding each time. So again, that kind of range issue is reduced because chances are you just won't be doing longer rides. If you're a beginner rider like I was and came from a family who was anti-bikes and didn't know anyone who had a bike and didn't know anything about bikes, and you were just trying to learn about them, all that kind of stuff, I wasn't riding far in the beginning at all. So yeah, when I was doing my thing on the electric bike, I really was not fussed about the range issues at all, because it was not an issue for me. So yeah, when I was cruising around on the Surron Ultra Bee on my L's, I was not worried about the range issue at all, because I wasn't riding long distances. I was just kind of focusing on just getting time on the bike, just getting used to being on a motorcycle, and really focusing on my slow speed maneuvers, because I was kind of confident from the start that I'd be pretty decent with the riding of a bike, of a motorbike, coming from riding quads and teaching quads, that kind of thing. This thing stinks. Ugh, gross. But I was really doing it on this bike because that was my goal, because I was going for a manual license. My point is that it's a good entry point. You know, if we're trying to get people into the sport of motorbikes, you know, trying to get people to watch the sport or take part in it, or, you know, compete or be social or whatever, basically if we want more riders riding, because I'm hearing that the numbers of new riders are going down for various reasons, so surely we want to be trying to make it as easy as possible to get into the sport. And if electric bikes is a way of doing that, then surely that's a good thing. And the other thing is, so it might be thinking, why did I decide to go for a Surron? It was, one of the reasons was that, apart from it looking like a pretty decent machine and the price point and stuff, yes, it is expensive compared to maybe a gas counterpart of a similar kind, if you get what I mean. But for the price point, it wasn't, you know, we're not talking stock bar kind of stuff. If we just, or Stagaway or whatever they say, but if yeah, if we just look at it from the perspective of a learner bike and it's electric, and we put all that debate to one side, when it comes to Surron, they've decided to only sell their bikes through registered dealers, is my understanding. So yeah, the Surron was right away as well. It was all good for me to just go there and ride it home. Like, that's pretty cool as well. So the point I'm making is that an upside of Surron doing the registered dealer way of doing it, doing the sales and stuff, is that you're going through a dealer, which means you can do the same process as you would for a gas bike like this. So yeah, it's right away, which I think is pretty cool. That again means that for someone like myself, and that might be the same for you, is that if you don't have that much knowledge of motorbikes, motorcycles, and you're just getting into it, having that kind of peace of mind, hopefully, that if you get it from a dealer, that they're not going to sell you a lemon, and they're going to, you know, support you if something goes wrong, give you advice, that kind of stuff. yeah, that's just another thing with a bike that's, you know, a learner approved electric motorcycle that is also right away from a dealer. That's pretty cool. That's like, to my knowledge, seems like a fairly new thing. I had so much fun riding that bike on my L's and my P's. I still do. It was just fun. Like, if I was going to give an analogy, the one that I like saying about it is, it's kind of like surfing versus bodyboarding or boogie boarding, whatever you want to call it. I can go to the beach with my surfboard and wetsuit and all my gear and stuff, and I can paddle out, and I can, you know, wait for 10-20 minutes between each wave and try and get a great wave. And, you know, it is an amazing feeling standing up and kind of riding that open face. Yeah, it's unreal. But on the flip side, the bodyboard, I'm just doing the shore brake. I'm not trying to go out the back, and I'm just literally trying to have as much fun as I possibly can. So bang for buck, like as many waves per minute as I can. So it's like catch a wave, ride it up the sand like a little kid, then turn around, sprint back, sprinting through the waves, try and catch another one as soon as possible. You know, it's just different. It's the same waves, but it's just a totally different use of the ocean, using different equipment, that kind of stuff. And that's kind of what I'm saying with like gas versus electric. They're just different, you know. Another analogy would be footy, playing football. So, you know, you could just do some backyard footy with some friends, family, whatever, you know, and it's just for fun. Like, but you could also do like full on, get all the gear or your equipment, get some officials doing full contact, that kind of stuff. They're both footy, but they're totally different, you know. I don't know if these analogies are making sense or holding water for you, but you know, I just have fun on the electric bike. I don't know why, it's just fun. It might tap into like being a kid or something, I don't know, but it's like, it's just fun, I guess, because it's easy, there's less to think about. I mean, don't get me wrong, I have fun on this bike as well, so I don't know, maybe the analogy is total BS, but I don't know, I'm just doing my best to try and explain why someone who rides around on a gas bike all the time is advocating electric bikes. But I am doing it in this video anyway, talking about learners, right? And just saying another option for learners could be an automatic bike. And if you're thinking automatic bike, well, what about electric bikes, you know? And it's just trying to lower that barrier to entry so that you know, we get more people into the sport. I was one of those people, man. I'd always been interested in bikes. Yeah, okay, you don't need to do much to watch the MotoGP or that kind of thing, but I've learned so much about bikes since riding one, and I definitely watch more, and I've learned that there's all kinds of bikes as well. There's all different kinds of bikes, there's different kinds of riders, that kind of stuff. You know, we're just talking about getting people into the sport so that, you know, the sport keeps growing and doesn't shrivel and die a slow death or whatever. Like, surely that's got to be a good thing. So electric is not the answer to everything, but I don't think it's the cause of all the problems either. But anyway, now I don't know if those analogies made any sense, but basically I'm just saying that I had a lot of fun on the electric bike, and I still do. They're just different, you know. And yeah, there is that elephant in the room about the range, but we're talking about it in the context of beginner riders and bikes that are learner approved, that kind of thing. So I just think there's an argument for the range and kind of the amount of distance you can get out of the battery between, you know, in one charge and having to charge it again, that kind of thing, and the time that it takes to recharge the bike, that kind of stuff. I just don't think it necessarily comes into it. Okay, so you're just riding around on a gas bike. What about the electric? Whoa, here we go. Magico. Well, I'm really interested to see what this bike can do. Super interested. So let's have a look. Trying to piece of paper today rather than writing the stuff on the tank, but it's kind of annoying having to take it out each time. But anyway, man, I'm writing so bad today, trying to concentrate on talking and remembering the points and stuff. I'm not writing well, and it's ironic because I'm talking about riding an electric bike. And yeah, anyway, a street legal learner approved electric motorcycle. A street legal learner approved electric motorcycle. Now that's something to look at.